My name is Patricia Jakel, and I am a metastatic breast cancer thriver. And I will tell you my story. 10 years ago, I was working as a advanced practice nurse in oncology, the solid tumor program at UCLA. And I, every year, faithfully around my birthday, I had my mammogram done. It was like celebration because my mom had breast cancer. So I was obviously, as an oncology nurse, very aware of what that could mean. I actually had it done. And in Super Bowl Sunday, I was getting ready for a party. And so that was 6 months later. And I looked down and I thought, huh, my breast looks a little strange. But like every good oncology nurse, I said, I'll worry about it tomorrow. I have to go cook for the Super Bowl party. So to make that whole story a little shorter, I ended up being diagnosed with stage 3B metastatic lobular breast cancer. And everyone that I saw, because obviously I knew all the physicians that I was working with, everyone that I saw said, we went back and looked at your mammogram films and it wasn't there. And it was large, it was 5 by 7 by 3. And I think one of the hardest things people kept saying to me over and over again, because your tumor is so large, we need to do X, Y, and Z. Because your tumor is so large, we need to do X, Y, and Z. And lobular breast cancer, like even having dense breast, lobular breast cancer is sneaky because it's like lattice work. There's no hard tumor. It's lattice, so you don't see it in mammography. It actually doesn't pick it up. So I went through 7 years of treatment, 5 surgeries. I actually kept working even during the pandemic, much to my oncologist's dismay, but I couldn't abandon my staff during the pandemic. It was difficult. It was really difficult. I was on two different CDK4/6 inhibitors. I was on two different aromatase inhibitors, and then I actually ended up on Fosamax, which had less bone pain, which was better. But what happened, why I ended up continuing treatment was I had to have a reconstruction of my reconstruction. So just about everything that could go wrong went wrong. So I ended up with the 10-hour flap surgery that I never wanted because of the radiation caused encapsulation of my implant. And they found a node. Lo and behold, they found a positive node. I was put back on Ibrance and then I went on Fosamax. So it was a confusing picture. Like, why was that node in the site of radiation? Why was that node still there after 3 years of treatment? So I ended my treatment. I spent 3 wonderful years. I ended up retiring after 34 years at UCLA, and it wasn't the work or the patients, it was the commute. Anyone that lives in LA will understand that. And I miss my patients every day, I will say that, but it has been nice. And I finally felt like I got my health back. I was more active, the joint pain was gone. And I wanted, when I became Medicare age, because lobular is a different beast, I wanted a second opinion with a lobular expert. So I went to UCS and I saw Dr. Shatsky, who's wonderful. And she said, oh no, you had a high risk node. They should have been screening you with MRIs and ctDNA. Why hasn't that happened? So I ended up having an MRI in October, thinking it was no big deal. My husband and I enjoyed our trip to San Diego. We were going to walk on the beach and go home. And of course, now your tests pop up in your My chart before any physician sees it often. And I'm like, I know how to read it. I've read hundreds of MRIs. I know how to read an MRI. And I opened it up, and there it was, that there was a small mass, and I can't remember the exact number. There was a small mass in my unaffected breast that the MRI had found. Remember, 6 months before that, again, had the mammogram, had the ultrasound, had a long conversation with the radiologist, who was a lovely person, about how dense breasts and lobular breasts are very difficult and it's really hard to pick these things up. So I felt reassured and I felt silly the second time around. I'm like, you're an oncology nurse, you're an advocate for patients. Why did you not say demand an MRI? And then my ctDNA, which is now still controversial, but my doctor in San Diego believes in drawing them on patients, even in survivorship. And that was positive. So now everyone is concerned because that usually means you have a distant metastasis somewhere. So I went through the new Seranian PET scan, which is an estrogen PET scan that actually picked up the lesion on my hip. So I just finished radiation as of yesterday to my hip. Happy to be done with that, but concerned about my future. Yeah, twice in my path, I was reassured with mammograms and ultrasounds, and then to have the MRI and actually have a lesion there. And I will be the first to say that a breast MRI is terribly uncomfortable. It's really difficult to get through a breast MRI, and I have to like meditate myself into laying still, and it's difficult, but it's definitely more effective than mammography for people that have difficulties or that have difficulties having their tissue viewed completely, or they have a history of lobular breast cancer. So currently I am on treatment and I am not curable. I am treatable, which is reassuring. And I feel sad for every patient I ever said that to. I apologize to them because those are really hard words to hear when you're sitting across from your provider. But the mammogram failed me twice. And my sisters are undergoing mammogram, and we don't have any genetic mutations or variances in our family, but I'm really encouraging both of them to make sure that they get their MRIs too.